Hi. So you know how I have kept talking about a bisexual clothing company that I'm doing, and yet it's been like a year and there's no clothing out from it yet? Well, it's story time because that's what I'm going to be talking about today. Right before I mention that this video is sponsored by my bisexual t-shirts, which is available on Amazon and is not the clothing company, but I'll talk more about that throughout the video. Okay, so what am I talking about? So, you might have seen the Bisexual Representation Awards, and you might have seen it's like sponsored by Fluid Style Co., which is a clothing company that I am part owner of. Here's a story of that and why it is that I've been talking about it for so long and yet it doesn't exist as a thing yet. So back after the election of the man who I shall not name, who's currently President of the United States, as soon as it happened, I was devastated like a lot of Americans, and I couldn't understand the way the world worked anymore and all that stuff. And because I, work from home, writing books, I needed to get out and be with people because sometimes I can literally go 5 days and not see another human being. It's horrible. But I had to get out. So I went out to a Meetup event on that Saturday following the election, and I'm there and I'm talking to people. And there's no one there I'm actually interested in, so I just started having casual conversations with this one person, a guy, we're chatting, I asked him what he does, he says he invests in small companies, and I said, you know what you should invest in? You should invest in bisexuality. And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, and I start rattling off all the statistics, and actually, if you've watched my video, Take the B out of LGBT2, I kind of break down the kind of business of sexuality, like the business of gay, and I kind of reference like what a business of bisexuality could be like. So I kind of talk about that with him, and I also start rattling off statistics about how bisexuality is being accepted more and more, and how the generations are all different about the view of bisexuality and all that stuff. And he's like, "Oh, this is all very interesting." So he said, "So are there any kind of companies that target bisexuals right now?" I'm like, no, there is literally zero larger companies, bigger than just a tiny company that focuses on bisexuality. He's like, oh, then that's a completely open market, then maybe we should. So how do you market towards bisexuals, or how do you sell things towards bisexuals? And I said, I don't know. I sell books, I sell bisexual romances, I do very well. I don't know anything else. If I knew something else, I would have done it. And he's like, okay, well, how about clothing? Do bisexuals wear clothing? Ha 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 ha. Yes, bisexuals wear clothing. So we decide, okay, so we're gonna at least look into doing a clothing company for bisexuals. And this is still November of 2016. So we're talking about it, and we're like, I put together a business plan for it, like how I think it should be, because obviously I'm the one who understands the market because of these videos, because of the stuff I've done with the organizations here in Los Angeles. Just I understand the bisexual market. It's more than, we'll say, anyone in the world. We'll just say that. So I put together the business proposal and give it to him. And he's like, oh, no, I get it. I like it. And I had no clue. I had no clue at that point. Like I had whatever my ideas were, I just kind of put it on paper. But I knew that would be a long shot, what I came up with that time. So he liked it. We went and pitched it to a previous CEO from Reebok, the shoe company, who was also the previous CEO of Lululemon, and pitched to him, and he thought it was a brilliant business plan and stuff like that, and giving my business partner, some confidence. And then my business partner pitched it to another person who runs another company that he knows. So, and he gained confidence from it. So he said, I'm in. So that's great. So we decided to, since neither of us had that much of experience, we both have run companies. He's run larger companies. I've run small companies, and I've run actually a company that sold t-shirts, not these t-shirts, but in my previous life, I ran a company with my mother. We sold souvenirs from my home country, the Bahamas, online, and our biggest product were t-shirts. So yeah. So taking all that information, we decided, okay, so instead of trying to build the company out, hire a designer, hire this, hire that, I had dated this girl who worked for a clothing design company where basically companies like Tommy Bahama and the Gap and stuff like that. They go to a company, they actually worked with the company that my ex worked for, and the company just designed stuff. And then let's say Tommy Bahama comes in and says, I'll take this with that, with the different types of buttons and stuff like that. And that's what they do. And they send it over to the factory, they produce it. And then Tommy Bahama just gets the final products delivered. So we're like, okay, we could do something like that. So we go out, we find a company that we work with, and it's one based in Los Angeles. And we started working with them. They said, when we started working with them, that they will deliver within 90 to 100 days, right? So I was like, oh, 90 to 100 days. This was back January 2017. So that meant January, February, March, April. So in April, we should have product, right? So that's great. We start working with them, and they are freaking slow, like slow, really slow. And my biggest, greatest skill is managing people. And so I have a lot of techniques on doing that. So I'm going through all my techniques, trying to get them to like return emails, even though they're just Los Angeles. Like I'm doing all that stuff, and I'm getting very, very frustrated because they promise like, oh no, we'll have it tomorrow. And then 3 days will go by, 4 days will go by, and I don't hear from them. Exceptionally frustrating. And we're going through this, and at that time, like we're like thinking, well, if we're gonna have it if we have it in, let's say March, April, then we need to market it. So we started thinking about going to the Pride festivals, which I've of course talked about. And so we started booking a whole bunch of Pride festivals, with the confidence that we would have product by June because they promised it in March, April. So we booked the festivals and stuff like that. And as time's going on, we're like, so we spent money already for marketing. When will we have this product? And then things start coming up. And then one of the things that came up is that very quickly in there, originally we were just going to just do product. But from talking to someone in that company who actually was bisexual, I got this great idea for what our company should be and what we should sell, which I won't talk about now because I'd like it to be like a, hey, when it actually comes and launches. But because of talking to the bisexual there, it just clicked in me everything of what we should be. And what happened was it became clear that we couldn't do that by just selecting fabric in Los Angeles. We actually had to go and produce that fabric to do specifically what I wanted to do. So that became a whole bunch longer, and we had to go out and we found a company in India at their recommendation. Went and found a company in India. They created the fabric we wanted, sent it to us, and there's a whole approval process. And then it suddenly became clear to us that we wouldn't have product by March or April. In fact, we would barely maybe have product for June for the festivals, maybe for July. And time keeps going, and the company in Los Angeles, it's they're now months past when they said they would have stuff. And it's because they're being exceptionally slow and not paying attention to us. And I'm fighting every day to get them to pay attention to us. And time's going on, and nothing's going quickly, and I'm just getting really frustrated. But I kind of come to God with the whole thing and go, okay, you know what? And then on top of it, as we're getting close to when they're about to start going into production on the things that could go into production stuff, not the stuff that has to be done in India, but stuff in Los Angeles. They come back with a quote that is literally 3 times the amount that they estimated in the beginning. So when you go into a company like this, they say, what do you want to sell the product for? What price? And then what are you expecting in terms of, per item costs? And we told them both of that, and they're like, okay, good, we're going to stick within that. And we go through this entire process, and each time I'm going, okay, so if I make this decision here with this fabric or this binding or this whatever, will it push us off budget? And each time they're like, no, this should be fine, this should be fine, this should be fine. So finally, when it comes time to deliver the final sample and start into production, ask them, okay, so what's the actual cost per unit? And the number they said was 3 times the original amount in the beginning. 3 times! That's con work. That's bait and switch. They knew I didn't have the experience, or my partner didn't have the experience in this, so they were completely in control of it, and they just screwed us. So at this point, we're like, okay, well, we obviously aren't going to be producing here in Los Angeles. We're just going to take the stuff and give it to India. I have this, I vent my frustration with them, rightfully so, in my opinion, and then we move on. And we take all this stuff, we send it to India. So we're now talking to India, and it's probably about August-ish. And then we're like, okay, so this is all the stuff that we want produced by you. Can you do this? They're like, yes, of course we can do this. We do this. So like, okay, so when can we have this by? So 90 to 100 days. So that's August. Essentially, 100 days, put it like end of November, right? So we're like, I am unhappy about this because we've missed March, April, which is when we were supposed to have stuff initially. We've missed Pride, which was like, how do we miss Pride? We spend a whole bunch of money going to Pride festivals to sell this clothing to, you know, bisexuals, and yet we've missed it. How do we miss it? I don't know. I'm like, okay, fine. As long as we get Christmas. Christmas is the big holiday. As long as we hit that, we're fine. So, fine. As long, and I said to the guys in India, as long as you have product by December 1st, we're all good. 100 days is like end of November, but if we have product in our hands by December 1st, great. So as soon as we have everything down, we've chosen samples and stuff like that, we say, okay, good, we will do it. The guy disappears for 5 weeks, gone. After pushing and being really conscientious and always like being there and answering questions, being on the phone, constant questions by us, as soon as we said yes, gone for 5 weeks. And in part, I kind of was allowing my business partner to take care of stuff. And I was just sitting back because we kind of like, I'm supposed to be the creative and then he's supposed to be the logistics. But I'm like, I need to be more hands-on with this. So at that point, I started pushing the guy going, so it's been 5 weeks. What's going on here? He's like, oh, sure, I'll put together an invoice. I'm like, put together an invoice? We said we only had 100 days and 5 weeks have gone by. He's like, yeah, that's no problem, that's no problem. We put in some like leeway there. So instead of having all that extra time at the end, we just used all the extra time at the beginning. I'm like, oh, I don't like where this is going, but I can only just say, okay. So then we start production, we start getting stuff and stuff for approval, waistbands for approval, this for approval, all that stuff. And it's like, okay, we're kind of moving along, moving along. At one point, there's something called grading. Now, to understand what grading is, you go into a clothing store, and of course, there's a shirt, and it's in multiple sizes. The way that happens is that a clothing company will go to a designer, and they will design one shirt in one size. They choose a fit model, they put them in one size, and then they take that and they go to someone who's called a grader, and that person then takes the dimensions of that shirt and then shrinks it and expands it for all the other sizes around it. Being new to the business, like each time we chose a company, we chose them saying, okay, so we don't know a lot. This is our first line. We want you to handle this. Can you handle this? And each one said, no, we're great for new people, blah, blah, blah. So at one point, and I didn't even pay attention to this, but the guys in India said, do you have the gradings? And I went, gradings? I don't. Is that something you guys can produce? And he went, yes, we can do that. Fine. I didn't think much of it. So they took the designs, they graded it, and then they sent back the first samples. And when I say that the gradings were wrong, I'm not just being flippant. So I wear a size large tall because I'm 6'5". So I asked them to send me a size large tall, and the shirt I get is like, I felt like I was 3 years old wearing my father's shirt. Like a 7-foot guy would think this shirt was big. Like it was the biggest shirt. It's almost like a novelty shirt or a night shirt. For me, it would be a night shirt for me. And I go back to the guys in India and go, what happened here? Let me ask you, do you guys know what sizes are? And that was a legit question, because how could you possibly produce this, lay it out on a table and go, yep, this seems right, and then go on? So I asked this, and at this point I'm starting to go, oh, there's something going on here, and I think we may not, of course we're going to make December 1st, because that's still like a month and a half away. We're of course going to make it, but this is a problem. So at that point we start, figuring out, okay, so what's the problem here? And then I realized, okay, they just don't know what grading is. Like, even though they're supposedly manufacturing, like a large manufacturing company in India, they just don't know what it is, because it wasn't just like the medium tall that was wrong. Everything was wrong. So we spend about like a couple of weeks trying to figure out the whole grading thing. Then after a while, I decide, okay, no, we're going to do this in America. So I go and I hire someone in New York to do the grading. And then we send it out there. And then they produce more material. And again, everything is wrong, but not for the sizings, even though the sizings are wrong. Now it's like we have like embroidered logos on some of our items, and it's in the wrong spot. Like, it's completely in the wrong spot. Like, months ago, someone asked me, the owner of the company asked me, okay, so on this t-shirt here, where do you put the embroidered logo on this t-shirt? I'm like, okay, there is no embroidered logo on the t-shirt because of the design. You wouldn't, clearly, when you see the clothing, you'll see what I'm talking about, but clearly you don't put it there because it would be too. So, no. So that was months ago, but then they deliver a shirt, and it has a second embroidered logo on it. I'm like, what? Where did you get that from? Like, there's a thing called a pattern sheet, in which case they like cut out the little pieces that you sew together to make the shirt. And then there's something called a pattern card, and it has all like, this is where you put the stitching, this is where you put the logo and all that stuff. And I'm like, what? Why would you put one there? You have the pattern card. You see that there's nothing on the pattern card, so why did you put it there? And just all these like weird things that are wrong, and the colors, like it was supposed to be white and instead it's beige, and the person's saying, nope, that's white, that's white. I'm like, look at it. How could you possibly say that this is white? No normal human being would say that. And there was another color supposed to be dark gray, and it turns out to be light blue. It's like, what is going on? Do I live in a universe that does not, like, where things just are ups, down, and lefts, right? I don't know. So all this stuff is driving me completely insane. And then it becomes like late November, and I'm like, are we gonna make December 1st? And he goes, the owner of the company goes, yeah, we'll make December 1st. No problem, we'll make December 1st. I'm like, no, this is important, because we've spent a lot of money on a marketing campaign that's slowly building up, so that it all comes to a head December 1st. Like, I've flown to Vancouver and shot a video with the wonderful Elena Fender, and it's all time to be released during this Christmas holiday where we're gonna, either our company's gonna be made or broken. This is important. Will we have clothing by December 1st? Yeah, we'll have clothing by December 1st. No problem, we'll have clothing by December 1st. Okay, another week goes by. We still don't have a sample that we can use. And I'm like, seriously, dude, you got to be honest with me now, because if we're spending real cash here, so if you know this business, you know how long everything takes. If we're not going to make December 1st, I'm not going to be happy about it, but I'll accept it. But if you tell me we're going to miss December 1st, and then we miss December 1st, I will explode like a madman. So please, just be honest with us now. Will we make December 1st? He's like, no, we're going to make December 1st. So a week before December 1st, I'm like, okay, look, as long as we make December 20th, so that we have 5 days before Christmas, then fine. I can live with it, fine. Will we make December 20th? He's like, no, we're fine. We'll just get the sample out, you'll get it, and then we'll speed up the process. It'll take 2 weeks, it's a small order, you'll have it, no problem. I'm like, seriously, dude, be honest with me, stop lying, because he lies a lot. He lied a lot about a lot of stuff, like, beige being white. Like, he just lies about a lot of stuff. I'm like, seriously, dude, don't lie to me. This is important. Will we make Christmas or not? If we miss, I will be so mad. So tell me the truth now. Like, no, we're going to make December 20th. We're going to make December 20th. Needless to say, we didn't make December 20th. We didn't make December. We didn't make January. So January comes, and I am boiling mad. I am boiling mad on a daily basis at this point. You couldn't tell through the videos, but I was living life in a real angry state. Why? Because I had written a book. I had written a book as advertisement for December for the launch of the company, and it meant that I couldn't launch the book I had spent a month and a half writing on Amazon, because I designed it to be advertisement for it's a bisexual romance designed for, to reach out to the customers and stuff. Like it's this thing, and I can't release the book until the company launches. So now I have a business plan in terms of being an author where I write like books every month and a half or so, and it's done very well by me. But because of all of 2017 was spent me doing this company, I've only been able to release a book every like 3 months, which means that my income went from to half of that. So for the 2017, I've been living on half of income because, company, once the company starts selling stuff, I have another income. But I've been playing it smart. We think the company's doing very well. We think you're going to love the things we produced. And I feel very confident in that. And because of that, I've been deferring. But now here's the point where I can't even release the book that I wrote because it's designed to come in tandem with the launch of the company. And I have like almost no income coming because I haven't released a book in literally 3 months. So January comes, and finally I'm like, okay, in spite of everything, we gotta look at this. Something's gone wrong here. We're gonna redo the gradings because we're still having sizing issues. We're like, actually at one point, I decide, okay, well, I don't like the size gradings that the guy in New York did. Since we still have things, since nothing's been approved, not a single item has been approved in any way, we're gonna take like a week and a half, we're gonna do and change the gradings to make the sizing just perfect. And then you're going to work off of that. So I work with someone in Los Angeles. I stand over his shoulder. We get it exactly right, spend a lot of time on it. We send these pattern sheets to India and say, okay, look, you guys have made a lot of mistakes in the past. So I'm just going to send you this file here. Use this file here. Don't think about it. Don't overanalyze it. Just take this, print out what is in this file right here, cut the fabric based on it, make a sample based on it, send it back to us. Simple, simple, simple. He says, by the way, can you send this other file? And this other file is the one I didn't want to send them because that's something they can manipulate and change. And I'm like, look, I'm sending it to you in trust that you will do whatever you have to do with it, but use the file I sent you first. He's like, that's not a problem. So we send him off. The whole process of making samples is supposed to be, it should take like 2 weeks. 6 weeks. 6 weeks go by, and they send us the first samples, which was maybe 3 weeks ago. They send us the samples, and I get it, and I'm like, everything looks good, right? I had them, like, there's a whole process I had to set in place where before they sent us stuff, they would take pictures of it, and I would approve every single little tiny thing about it, and then they would send it to us. So it looked good because I approved everything in pictures in India, and I got it, and I put it out, and I'm like, well, okay, this looks good. And then I start measuring it, all the measurements, and I find that every item is wrong. Like, and it's not just a little wrong, it's like the sleeves are 1.5 inches too long, and I'm like, holy crap. Like, what universe am I working in? Because now they are 4 months past their promised delivery date. 4 months passed. And basically what happened was, and this is insane, but basically what happened was they took the file, and I said to them, use this file, don't use anything else, use this file, just use this file. They didn't use that file. What they did instead was, and they didn't even use the other file they requested, what they did instead was they took an old file. At one point I'd asked them to make the changes as opposed to us making the changes, and I said, no, that's stupid. Alex, dude, you've learned, just do it yourself. So at one point I'd asked them, so I sent in like the specifications of changes I wanted. What they had done is they took an old file, and then they tried to put the changes on the old file, and then they made the samples based on that. Instead of just printing out the one I sent them, they changed an old file and made samples based on that. It's almost like they're trying to sabotage us on purpose. Like, I can't understand any other reason for it except for that. And it took me my entire, like that weekend when I didn't deliver a video, it was because of that. I was literally, my entire weekend was me on the floor measuring specifications and all that stuff, and then washing and see what happens after washing. It was hellish, but what I discovered from that was that that's what they did. they took another file, an old file, they changed the old file. And I knew that because I had made other design changes on the new files, which reflected, blah, blah, blah. Not important. But at that point, I'm just like, okay, even though we have sent them a ton of money, we sent them a ton of money, I think it would be 8 months ago now, we need to find another company. So there's differing opinions. My business partner, whose money it is, thinks that maybe we shouldn't walk away because we're walking away from a lot of money. But my opinion is that we're working with a con artist who, 8 months! 8 months! You don't understand how much this frustrates me. Like on a daily basis, I am constantly hiding just how much this is painful for me. But essentially, so there's now like a debate going on between myself and my business partner where I'm like, no, I think I've found someone else who could do it. Instead of India, we could do it in China, and we could have someone in America oversee it and stuff like that. And we're going through that process of seeing what the prices are if they would do it in China versus India. But India keeps promising, no, we'll have samples by this weekend. Like we even though I didn't tell them to, they decided just to make new samples, even though it's a long thing. Anyway, so even though they are claiming they've fixed the problem, they're now using the right files, and it was just like a little over all the things that were wrong, was just an oversight. Like things like they were putting the wrong labels on the shirt and like the wrong size labels, and it's just like, oh my God, it's like, anyway. So even though they think that they'll have something by this weekend, ha ha ha, and we could we're hiring like an inspection company, like that was one of our ideas. We can hire someone to stand over them and make sure they get it right. But I'm like, they'll figure out a way to, fail inspection, and it'll just drag on and drag on and drag on. So my big thing is, let's just find another company. It's going to take us 60 to 90 days with a new company, which means we're going to miss Pride season again. And we won't deliver until 90 days, 100 days from now. I said it's better just to do that than to keep working here, because it's literally a possibility that we may not make Christmas again if we continue working with them. It seems impossible because that would make it a year and a half in production, which is like, if anyone in the industry will tell you that is insane. In no way a sustainable business can happen. But that's the possibility because they're just so bad. So now it's like this dilemma of, okay, well, maybe we'll get it right this time versus, no, we've seen this story before and all that stuff. So that's the story. That's where we are right now. I met with some people yesterday, just literally yesterday, spent a lot of time with them, figuring out exactly how we would do this. We're waiting a couple of days to figure out what the prices would be for everything. And then it just becomes me talking to my investor and trying to convince him to let go of the thousands and thousands of dollars he's already invested and then start over from scratch. And the thing is, I'm very patient, right? My entire philosophy with the bisexual community and this channel is that there's no home runs. The way the bisexual community becomes stronger is by interaction, one-on-ones, just a series of one-on-one interactions. So I, talk about bisexuality, you see it. I give you confidence about being bisexual, and because you have more confidence, you feel like talking to, coming out to somebody or coming out to more people because of it. Like it's that interaction. It's slow, but it grows exponentially. So I'm patient. I'm very, very patient. And as much as this is wreaking havoc on all of my finances, like it's just destroying me financially, making it right, I know that I am so confident that when you guys see this, that you all will genuinely love it, that I'm willing to go through all of this because I know in the end, it'll be something great. And also it's partially motivating me to get this right and to continue doing this, even though I would be making a ton more money if I just focused on my books. What's partially motivating me is that years ago when I first started getting involved with the bisexual community, I used to go to this kind of help group, this round table group sort of thing, like people who want to talk about bisexuality as like a self-help sort of thing would meet, and then someone would moderate and ask questions. And the question that came up often was, how do you represent your bisexuality on a daily basis? And no one ever had an answer for that. Like one woman would say, well, you know, I try and dress femininely upon top and then wear shit kicker boots sort of thing. But like that was the closest to a great answer that anyone ever had. And the reality is that that's a problem. Like if a gay guy wants to represent himself as being gay, there are many ways he can do it, by the way he talks, by the way he dresses, the way he moves his hands and stuff like that. He could do it if he wanted it. If a lesbian wanted to represent himself as lesbian, lots of ways. But if you're bisexual, there's no real way of doing it except for like wearing a shirt with a flag on it. And, you know, that's okay. That's one thing, but it's kind of like, you know, it's a flag. You know, it's clearly making a statement, and sometimes you don't want to make a statement. So what my thoughts behind the company was that this would be something that that a bisexual could wear to feel bisexual without having a ton of people know what they're doing. So the people who should know, like the people who you would hope would know, will know, and the people who you would want to remain closeted to won't know. It took a long time for me to figure this out, but I feel very confident that this is what it does. So this clothing satisfies a need within the bisexual community, and with this clothing and things like this clothing is how we will come into our own. The way we'll be able to feel visible in public, and the way that we could represent who we are on a daily basis without necessarily having to wear a flag sort of thing. So it solves that problem. So I'm willing to go through all this stuff and to suffer financially as I have been and all that stuff, because I know at the end of the day, it's going to be clothing that you guys like love wearing just because it's really soft and comfortable and stuff like that. But on top of that, it does really wonderful things for the bisexual community. And that's the story. That's why I've been talking about this for a year, and I thought I would have it like for Pride, and I thought I would have it for Christmas, and like I kept talking like I would have it for Christmas. That's the story behind it. And I created the Bisexual Representation Awards as, you know, kind of like to go in tandem with the clothing company as advertisement, like you know, my investor is the one who's putting up all the money for the Bisexual Representation Awards, as, you know, a part of FluidBiDesign sort of thing. So that was supposed to be, you know, in advertisement, and this is going to be our second year doing the Bisexual Representation Awards and not having clothing to do it. It's like a whole thing, but that's the story. That is the story behind FluidBiDesign, the clothing company I keep talking about that's not released yet, and why it is that you guys have not seen the products yet, which you guys are going to love once you see it. Yeah, it's driving me nuts, people. It's driving me insane. It's my mother. My mother she's wonderful, but at this point when I talk about the company, she's like, you keep talking about it, but where is it, Alex? Alex, where is it? I don't know if she thinks I'm lying or not. I don't know. Anyway, so if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. And if you'd like to support me and the channel and what I'm doing here, hey, you can always pick up a bisexual t-shirt on Amazon. I have a lot of them in different designs. I got the cool one, the second most popular one that I should probably get is like a flag, American flag. And it has the stars and stripes in the rainbow colors. And then all of the long stripes, like the majority of the flag, is in the bisexual colors. Check it out. There's a link to it below. Yeah. Also, I have the lapel pins that you can check out as well. And don't forget my bisexual romances. You can pick up one of those. They're only 99 cents. You can even pick up The Muse, which is the book that I wrote for the clothing company. You just can't get it from Amazon. You have to get that from Barnes & Noble or Apple or Google or Kobo or anywhere, just not on Amazon. So yeah. Give the video a thumbs up and subscribe. I do many videos on bisexual talk. I try to do it every Sunday. But if you'd like to know when a new video comes out, you can always click on the subscribe button and click on the bell. And by doing that, you'll be telling YouTube that you'd like to know when a new video comes out. Until the next video, stay cooler, my bisexual friends, and be calm, unlike me. But stay cooler. Bye.